Let's talk about AI and workflow automations this week. So AI and automation. So there are two main ways that you can use your agents in an automation. So you can automate a section within, you can use it from the configure section in an agent or from a workflow, right? So, and this is new. While we were doing this episode, I connected Claude to our portals. I went through the whole process. It's actually very interesting because I've been using Claude and connecting to HubSpot to query things, right? And now I was connecting Claude from HubSpot to go the other way to run workflow actions in Claude. So that was an interesting thing. And we'll come up with this. So Craig, do you want to just talk about some of the things you can do in the AI
let's just talk
set?
about, in a workflow, there's actions. You trigger a workflow and then you can fire off actions. And over the last year, HubSpot's been adding to a list of AI-specific actions. So they've had things like infer company value proposition or an ICP, or research company news has been an AI action. Summarize a record, that's been an AI action. And then the one you mentioned, use a custom LLM. You can call, ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whatever from an action within a workflow. We'll come back to calling a custom LLM, but the big unlock, the one that's really just rolled out recently, is run agent, the run agent action. And what it means is from a workflow, you can call any of those agents that you've installed from the HubSpot marketplace or that you've customized into your own custom agents. This is the big unlock, because previously we'd have to go into the agent, as you said earlier, go into the configure tab, then run a trigger in it, from the agent side. But now you just set it up in a workflow. This is much more the way to go. And this is a good example of something that I think should have been in HubSpot 6 months ago. This is what everyone was asking. When the HubSpot Marketplace rolled out, here's our marketplace for agents, the obvious question from everyone was, how do I call them from a workflow? Yeah. The answer was, you can't. Oh, that's odd. But now you can. And so it's good that we end on this kind of high for the year with running agents. And so what we've done in the show notes, I've actually walked through a complete scenario, which I'll get to in a second. So
this is a real life example.
Yeah, of calling an agent. But there was actually that data agent one is one that's often overlooked as well, Ian. You can call a data agent custom prompt.
Yes.
That's been available for a little while.
Correct.
And just one example of that, we actually just call that with a prompt to summarize playbooks. So whenever someone submits a playbook or logs a playbook against the contact or a company, we just summarize it with the data agent. But let's talk about running an agent as part of a workflow. Pretty easy to set up. We've got screenshots in the show notes or in our course in the HubShots community. You basically decide which agent you're going to call. Then you can input the tokens it needs, whether, let's say in this example, I'm running it on a contact. I'm calling the customer upsell agent. So it needs to know which is the company. So you call the associated company record. You insert the company record ID into the agent action in the workflow. You save it. And then after you've saved that action, you just add another action in the workflow to add a note against the contact and simply pull the results from the agent run in the action before. It's very straightforward once you've set it up. And so here's an example. Again, this is all in the show notes with screenshots. We basically are just starting to create a repeating task against contacts that repeats every 3 months. And the task has a name of upsell in it. And when that's due, the due date for that task, that triggers a workflow that basically calls the action to run the customer upsell agent, analyzes the customer across all their notes and everything like that, emails, meeting recordings and transcriptions and all those notes, and then leaves a note against the contact. So then when I get the task, hey, it's time for the 3 monthly review of the client, it's propped there and it puts a full summary. I've got a full high-res version in the show notes as well. It even tells me the email I should be sending a client. We never use that. I'll just say it's that typical ChatGPT kind of email. I'd never use it, but it's good to have some suggestions. But the key thing about this that I find is that it often reminds me of previous topics, problems, and questions that have been raised and I've totally forgotten. This is the power of these kind of AI tools. They troll back through all the notes, all the meetings, all the call transcripts, and they pull out problems that were raised a while ago that everyone's forgotten about. And then you can highlight that in a call or with a update with the client and find out if it's priority or not. Sometimes these AI notes and that can be pretty long, so you can change your prompts to focus on brevity, etc. But that's a real kind of use case for how this can be used. You can imagine putting this in place for sales teams. Every 3 months, a task. Yep. Hey, time to talk about upsell, and it pre-fills with notes for you. So there you go. You'd be doing similar things, I'd imagine, Ian.
Correct, Craig. And before I continue on, I just want to tell people that this does consume credits. So just be aware when you are calling. But then I always come back to this, right? Yes, it is consuming credits, but how much time and value is it adding to the individual in the team, right? That you don't have to do that. You don't have to manually do that. And I think that's the big unlock here when we're talking to teams is that, hey, you can really focus on the really high value things and we can get the AI to do all of these pre-work items so that you're prepared really well when you're talking to a customer, right? And I think when you look at it from that perspective, like you can go, man, that's really amazing what you can actually achieve and get done. I think don't be afraid. A credit's a credit, right? Like you can buy more, you can do more, but I think where is that exponential thing that you can do with this, with workflows and AI actions in them? So I think I'd be thinking about that. And a good place to start would be thinking, even if you did one a month, Craig, can you imagine at the end of a year where you would be inside with what you're doing with HubSpot? You'd be in a very different place to where you are today.
Yeah. So when it comes to credits, I think this is worth highlighting. When it comes to credits, an action like this, is so valuable. And it's only 10 credits, I think. It's not like it's showing up amounts of it. So when it comes to credits, you look at something like this, you go, this is a no-brainer. I am prepared for the call that I'm going to make here with a whole bunch of upsell pain points, reminders about things to, that makes it a very valuable conversation for your client.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of value. But on the flip side of credits, the problem people have with credits is not things like this. Oh, it cost 10 credits. No problem. That's a no-brainer. The problem they have is what you alluded to earlier. I can't control it. I am not sure if it's suddenly going to run away from me. I need more guardrails to protect me from myself, to protect me from my lack of understanding on this incredibly complex platform that you've made over the last year, especially by rolling out tons of features that I don't understand, and then me falling into the trap of suddenly running a workflow that consumes all my credits or blows it out.
Yeah.
That's what people are afraid of. But the value, I think people get. So I really wish HubSpot had a better way to kind of, I don't know, guide you. You know when you run into a workflow and you kick off or you change the criteria for a workflow and it suddenly pops up and says, hey, you're about to enroll 6,000 contacts.
Correct.
Do you want to just add them all or only from now on? Right? So we need a similar thing that pops up and says, hey, do you realize you're about to consume 20,000 credits?
Correct.
And you go, whoa, no, thank you for loading it. But there's none of that in place yet.
Correct. It's kind of like the pre-checks before you enable something, right?
And that's the problem. The problem. And it's going to be a problem because people will get caught. There's going to be this pushback and anger and wariness, and they will miss out on all the value that they could have been getting just because they've gotten burnt.